Love is the foundation of every relationship, but when that foundation is built on lies, it can crumble in an instant, destroying everything you hold dear. Trust is a fragile bond, a silent agreement between hearts. But what happens when the person you trust the most turns out to be the one you should fear the most? Sophia Martinez was a dreamer, a woman full of hope, embarking on what should have been the happiest chapter of her life. At 52 years old, she believed she had finally found the love she had always longed for. When Daniel Harper entered her life, his charm and attentiveness felt like the answer to her prayers, a second chance at love after years of heartbreak. In July 2023, Sophia's world seemed brighter than ever. After a whirlwind romance, she married Daniel in an intimate ceremony surrounded by close friends and family. That night, she shared her joy with the world, posting a radiant photo of their wedding on social media. Her caption read, "Forever begins today." But what she didn't know was that this single moment of happiness, this public declaration of love, would set off a chain of events that no one could have foreseen. Behind the smiles, beneath the vows, lay secrets darker than anyone could imagine. Daniel Harper wasn't who he appeared to be. While Sophia celebrated her newfound happiness, Daniel saw her openness as an unforgivable act, a betrayal that would push him to commit the unthinkable. Sophia's joy lit up the world, but what she didn't know was that sharing her happiness would cost her everything. Her picture-perfect moment would soon unravel into a chilling nightmare, one that would leave her loved ones shattered and the world questioning. How much of your happiness should you share with the world, and at what cost? Sophia Martinez believed in love's second chances, but was this her destiny or her undoing? After a lifetime of struggles, heartbreak, and resilience, Sophia, at 52, thought she had finally found her happily ever after. A widowed schoolteacher from San Diego, she had spent years putting the needs of others before her own. Her days were filled with lesson plans, laughter from her students, and quiet evenings with her books. But beneath her composed exterior was a longing, a yearning for companionship, for a love that had eluded her for so long. It was in the spring of 2022, during a casual outing with friends, that Sophia met Daniel Harper. He was everything she hadn't dared to dream of. Attentive, charming, and effortlessly confident. Daniel, a 47-year-old financial consultant, spoke with a calm assurance that made Sophia feel seen, cherished, and for the first time in years, truly alive. Friends who watched them together often remarked on how he seemed to hang on her every word, his gaze never leaving hers. Their romance blossomed quickly. By summer, they were inseparable. Sophia confided to her sister Maria, "It feels like a fairy tale. Like everything I've been through was leading me to this." But Daniel wasn't without his quirks. When pressed about his past relationships, he would deflect, offering vague answers that seemed designed to shift the focus back to Sophia. She brushed it off, telling herself that everyone deserves a fresh start. In January 2023, during a vacation in Tulum, Mexico, Daniel proposed. The warm ocean breeze carried his words as he knelt on the sandy shore under a vibrant sunset. Sophia said yes, tears streaming down her face, overwhelmed by the joy of the moment. Yet if she had looked closer, she might have noticed how Daniel's smile didn't quite reach his eyes. The couple married on July 15, 2023, in a small, intimate ceremony at a vineyard in Napa Valley. Sophia radiated happiness, dressed in an elegant lace gown, surrounded by family and close friends. As they danced beneath the string lights, she whispered to Daniel, "This is everything I've ever dreamed of." Daniel's response? A quiet smile and a murmured, "You deserve it." But the cracks were already forming. Daniel grew increasingly uncomfortable with Sophia's openness. He would make offhanded comments about how she shared too much on social media, but Sophia dismissed these as mere differences in personality. She never imagined that her joy, so pure and unguarded, could provoke something far darker in the man she loved. The setting of their honeymoon in Tulum, where their love story had seemingly begun, seemed perfect on the surface. Crystal clear waters, golden sands and vibrant sunsets painted a picture of paradise. But even paradise can cast shadows. Sophia's friends noticed subtle changes in her demeanor. Her texts became shorter, her calls less frequent. When they asked, she insisted everything was fine. but the hesitation in her voice told another story. Sophia believed she was stepping into a love story, a second chance at happiness. But was she unknowingly walking into a trap? How much of the man she adored was real, and how much was a carefully constructed facade? When something feels too perfect, is it love or manipulation? Honeymoons are for celebrating love, but for Sophia, it became a battle for survival. On July 20th, 2023, just 5 days after their wedding, Sophia and Daniel arrived at a luxurious beachfront resort in Tulum, Mexico. The sparkling waters and golden sands promised a romantic escape, a place where newlyweds could bask in the glow of their fresh vows. But behind the smiles they shared with resort staff and the staged photos they took for social media, tension was brewing. Sophia began to notice subtle shifts in Daniel's behavior. His once warm and attentive demeanor had turned cold and distant. Small disagreements erupted into tense arguments, often over trivial matters. Daniel's patience seemed to fray whenever Sophia reached for her phone to document their time together. One evening, she casually mentioned the overwhelming joy she felt after sharing their wedding photo online. Daniel's response was curt, his eyes narrowing as he muttered, "Some things are better kept private." Sophia tried to brush off the unease creeping into her thoughts. After all, no relationship is perfect, and everyone has their moments. But her instincts whispered warnings she couldn't ignore. On the third night of their honeymoon, a muffled argument was overheard by guests in the suite next door. Witnesses later recounted hearing Sophia's voice, trembling but firm, saying, "I don't understand why this bothers you so much. You said you loved me." Daniel's reply was sharp and chilling, "You don't know what love is." The next morning, Sophia was seen walking alone along the shore, her face drawn and her shoulders hunched. A staff member at the resort approached her, asking if she was okay. Sophia smiled weakly and replied, "I'm fine, just tired." But the sadness in her eyes told a different story. That night, the serenity of the resort was shattered. Guests nearby reported hearing loud crashes coming from the couple's suite, followed by a piercing scream. Security was called, but by the time they arrived, it was too late. Inside the room, chaos had replaced the tranquil setting. Broken glass littered the floor, furniture was overturned, and there, lying motionless, was Sophia. Her once vibrant spirit had been extinguished in a moment of unthinkable violence. Daniel Harper stood nearby, his hands trembling as he muttered incoherent explanations to the security guards. He claimed it was an accident, a tragic misunderstanding. But as the details emerged, it became clear that this was no accident. Sophia's scream marked the moment Daniel's carefully constructed lies began to unravel. Resort staff and authorities pieced together the fragments of the night, painting a picture of a man who had meticulously hidden his true nature, a man whose charm masked a darkness that Sophia never saw coming. The vibrant sunsets of Tulum, once a symbol of their love, now stood as silent witnesses to a nightmare that no one could have imagined. How well can you ever truly know someone, and what might they be hiding? Sophia's family demanded answers, but the truth about Daniel would leave them shattered. In the aftermath of Sophia's tragic death on July 23, 2023, investigators began to piece together the events that led to that horrific night. What emerged was a chilling portrait of a man who had carefully hidden his true nature behind a mask of charm. As police delved into Daniel Harper's past, they uncovered a history riddled with manipulation and deceit. Former acquaintances described him as charismatic but evasive, a man who seemed to drift between lives, leaving behind unanswered questions and broken relationships. Financial records revealed years of dubious transactions, hidden debts, unexplained withdrawals, and failed business ventures that painted a picture of desperation. One former partner who wished to remain anonymous came forward with a harrowing account. She described how Daniel's charm had initially won her over, only to be replaced by controlling behavior and intimidation. Her testimony painted a pattern. Daniel sought out vulnerable women, earning their trust before exploiting it for his own gain. For Sophia's family, these revelations were devastating. Her sister Maria described the pain of learning that the man Sophia had trusted with her heart was nothing more than a facade. In an emotional interview, Maria clutched a cherished wedding photo, the last image of her sister's radiant smile, and said through tears, She thought she had found happiness. She deserved so much better. The trial began in December 2023 and quickly became a media sensation. Courtroom drama unfolded as the prosecution presented damning evidence. Text messages showing Daniel's escalating frustration with Sophia's openness on social media, financial motives tied to her savings, and testimony from resort staff who described Daniel's erratic behavior during their stay. Daniel's demeanor in court was stoic at first, but cracks began to show as the weight of the evidence mounted. Under cross-examination, he stumbled through his explanations, often contradicting himself. At one point, when confronted with Sophia's final text to her sister, "Something feels off, but I'm trying to stay positive," he visibly flinched, his carefully controlled composure slipping. The public followed every moment, with debates erupting online and in the media about the dangers of trust, manipulation, and oversharing in relationships. Advocates for victims of domestic abuse used Sophia's story as a rallying cry, urging people to recognize the red flags that are often dismissed in the name of love. After weeks of testimony, the jury deliberated for just 3 days. On January 14, 2024, the verdict was delivered, guilty of second-degree murder. The courtroom was silent as the sentence was read, life in prison, with no possibility of parole for 25 years. For Sophia's family, the verdict brought a measure of justice, but not closure. Maria later reflected, "The scars of betrayal don't heal easily. We have justice, but we'll never have Sophia back." The public response was overwhelming, with vigils held across the country to honor Sophia's memory. Her story became a symbol of resilience and a stark reminder of the importance of vigilance in matters of trust. The verdict was in, but could justice ever heal the wounds left by betrayal? Can justice truly mend a broken heart, or does betrayal leave scars that never fade? Sophia's voice was silenced, but her story echoes as a warning and a call to action. In the wake of her tragic death, Sophia's family transformed their grief into purpose. In February 2024, they launched the Sophia Martinez Foundation, a support network dedicated to victims of manipulation and abuse. The foundation aims to educate, empower, and provide resources to those who may be caught in toxic or controlling relationships. Maria Martinez, Sophia's sister, described the initiative as a way to ensure her legacy lives on. In her words, "If Sophia's story can save even one life, then her light hasn't been extinguished. It's been passed on." Through the foundation, Sophia's family began to share warning signs that are often overlooked. The subtle shifts in behavior, the isolating tactics, and the gradual erosion of trust. They worked with psychologists, legal experts, and survivors to create workshops and helplines for those in need. Sophia's story also sparked broader conversations about the role of social media in our lives. Experts debated whether the growing culture of oversharing makes individuals more vulnerable to harm. In one interview, a cybersecurity expert warned, "Every post, every photo tells a story, not just to friends, but to anyone watching. In the wrong hands, your joy can be twisted into leverage." As you listen to Sophia's story, ask yourself, what would you do to protect yourself from the ultimate betrayal? How would you recognize the signs before it's too late? Her tragedy serves as a stark reminder that the people we let into our lives have the power to build us up or break us down. But Sophia's story is not just about heartbreak and loss. It is about resilience and awareness. It's about taking steps to ensure that no one else has to endure what she did. The truth has a way of surfacing, but will you recognize it before it's too late? Sophia Martinez's story may have ended, but her legacy lives on. In the glow of every candle lit at her vigil, in the quiet strength of every survivor who steps forward, and in every act of love tempered with caution, her light continues to shine. Let her memory be a call to action for all of us, to protect, to educate, and to stand together against the shadows of manipulation. What would you do to protect yourself from the ultimate betrayal?